Welcome to another Worship Leader Wednesday Live.
That never gets old.
Although I feel like Fuller, you and I are not replicating that level of excitement right now.
What's up,
So
everybody?
this will be like an old school Worship Leader Wednesday Live with just Fuller and me here. Bradford is at home with his child and wife. With wife and child. So yeah, he's at home, not able to join us this morning. Fuller and I are present. We apologize for being a little late. And man, Fuller, you sound like you just feel super chill right now, and I am.
It's all in your head, bro.
I'm feeling the same. I have not been sleeping well lately. I just can't. I lay in bed until like 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, and then my kid is an early riser, so my wife goes. She's up and out of the house by 5 a.m. every day. To go to work.
Smart woman.
Yeah, well, where she works, they have, for COVID, they sort of shifted their schedules, so all of their lab is essential because they do COVID research. But so like half of them go from like 6 to 2, and the other half from 2 to 10.
Yikes.
She goes from like 5:30 to 6. Not 6. She picks up Seth in the afternoons, but she gets out early. So Seth wakes me up. Seth is my son. Well, he's yelling at me. He's an early morning riser. So,
you know what I think you may contribute to that, Brian?
What's that?
Because you're like me. You spend probably all of your day on the computer.
Oh yeah. You see the screen.
These glasses,
okay,
Amazon,
they
$8. Okay.
Yeah.
And they're the blue light blockers for the computer screens, and they help equalize your serotonin levels. The light takes away. And let me tell you, since I've been wearing these, I sleep better at night, and I'm not as like mentally fried when I lay down. And I think it's from screen fatigue, honestly. It messes with your brain. So you need to get a pair of these, $6.
And I have a bad habit of like right before I go to sleep, I'm looking at my phone, and that's really bad for your brain.
Very bad for you.
Bradford's in the chat.
Be rad.
So it messes up your. We are biologically wired, to not have all of these artificial screens in front of our face.
That's right.
So when your brain sees that, it screws up your circadian rhythms.
It does.
Your brain thinks that it's daytime because it's seeing that sort of light when
not
it
good.
It should be dark out. Yeah. So it
That's
messes.
right.
Some people, I think probably people are more sensitive than others when it comes to that. I seem to be. The older I get, the more sensitive to it I get. Fuller, you and I are barreling into our mid-40s here.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
I find that
I'm about to turn 30. I'm 29.
That's right. I'm not. All right, we are going to talk about worship leading today.
Yeah.
We have some questions that Bradford so kindly wrote down and shared with us.
He did a great
The
job.
show notes from last Worship Leader Wednesday. We were not able to get to all your questions. Today is going to be more of a Q&A type of a day. We're going to hit some of the questions that you asked us in the last one, which was 2 weeks ago. We did not have live Worship Leader Wednesday last week. And then if you have questions related, we're going to try and keep this on topic related to worship leading. In any capacity, whatever you're doing, whether you volunteer, staff, you want to be getting on the team, that kind of thing. Let us know in the comments. We will answer them. Super chats are certainly not required to get answers, but if you do super chat us, we do appreciate it, and we will answer your question unless it's completely inappropriate.
In which case, we will answer a different question.
Well, in which case, we'll take your money, but we won't answer your question. Google will take half your money. We'll take the other half.
That's right.
All right. Fuller, you've got the document. Do you have a question
I do.
that we can tackle?
I have the document, and there's already great questions coming in the chat.
Awesome. Perfect.
What do you want to start? We want to start with the document?
Yes. Let's do that.
Okay.
Those were questions that were asked last time.
Okay, cool. Here's a good one. I don't think we answered this, but one of the underarching, this was asked by several people. What are ways to help promote improved preparation for your team?
Ooh.
And let me just say, this is a never-ending battle, right? This is a tension because I still experience this on a weekly basis. You know, not as bad as some people, but there's always going to be some, what do they call it, fluctuation in people's preparation as a whole.
Yes.
So you're never going to solve the issue, but we can definitely talk about how to make it better.
I think, you know what I think step one is, Fuller? We talk about all these other things that I'm sure we're going to talk about, like get materials to people, have them in the right key, have them out to more than 2 days before, all that kind of stuff. Probably the number one thing to do to get people to show up prepared, and this is probably something that I think probably most worship leaders have not done in a very, very long time, is tell them that you would like them to show up prepared.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
It's simple.
How often do we remind people what we expect of them?
That's a great point.
And if you don't, how can you expect people to do what you expect of them if they don't know what's expected?
Yeah, and when you say that, Brian, I think about all of the times we've answered the question with "have the conversation."
Yeah, right.
I mean, how many questions get answered with "you got to talk to the person"?
Right.
So that would be a good question for the people who ask that question. The people who ask, "How do I get my musicians to be prepared?" Answer this question: when's the last time? Not in a group setting, okay? Because that's like talking to no one when you're talking to a group, because everyone thinks they're the exception. When you talk to a group and say, "Hey guys, we really need to come more prepared," everyone's thinking, "I already do that." You have to talk.
I listened to the songs once. I'm prepared.
Yeah, I'm super prepared. Well, you know, it's funny, Brian, because that's another thing. What prepared is to you may be something different to the guy who works 60 hours building houses and then plays his $6,000 Paul Reed Smith at church.
Yeah. They're not all $6,000.
Yeah, some of them are cheaper. Yeah. Yeah. So that's a great question. Define. You have to have the target. Brad says it. Brad's in the chat room now, but he says this a lot. You can't what do they call it? You can't measure what is it? You can't evaluate what you can't measure.
He says that. Yes.
Yeah. So it's like
that's one of the isms.
The isms, yeah. So what does being prepared mean for a vocal? And I will say this: be careful not to enable your team, because I've been guilty of this in the past. Is enabling. I make it too easy for people, because yes, we want to make it efficient and fun, but if you're not careful, you make it so easy where the vocalists show up, they know there's a confidence monitor, they know they don't really have to know the lyrics, and then all of a sudden one Easter, your confidence screen goes out and nobody knows the song, so you have to cut it, and that literally
Fuller,
happened.
You and I have, I recall this happening. It was on a huge number. It was a huge thing that we prepared. And I remember who it was now. I was like, who did that? Now I recall. I'm not going to throw anyone.
The entire team.
But it was one of the most embarrassing crashes and burns that I've been a part of in a long time.
Yep.
I remember it like it was yesterday. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. You're taking me back to a dark time.
I know. Now, the thing
that confidence screen went out and nobody knew any of the words to the song. It was like, what is going? How do we not know the words?
And that was a wake-up call for me too, because I was like, I have allowed the standard to slip.
Yes.
Because
can I also say this was at a super high production megachurch.
Yeah, it was a big deal, and it was Easter.
Well, because I think everyone assumes that like what you see on videos and stuff is like everybody's a paid pro and nobody people, it happens, man.
Dude, it happens to everyone.
Didn't we cut that? It was one of like eight services, and it was like the main feature song.
Well, if you remember, we had a meeting.
We're not doing that again. Yeah, we did.
Meeting after that.
Yes.
Yeah, that was big. So anyways, I think to summarize, Brian nailed it. You have to talk to people.
You know what? Yeah.
And you have to have a target. What does being prepared mean? For the guitar players, it's different than for the drummers, for the bass players. Like, here's my thing. Bass players, you got to play every note right. Like, you can't play the wrong chords. Like, so that's the basic preparation. I'll give you a little slack on the groove. Maybe you're playing the wrong groove. Maybe that's a quarter note groove and you're playing an eighth note groove. I'll let that slide. But if you're playing an F and the song requires a C, that's unacceptable, because bass is too
close,
important.
But you're not there.
Bass is so important. And I never understood this, how like bass players could botch the absolute most crazy simple notes. Like, we're going to the
like
top
C.
of the, we're resolving the song.
To the one.
And you play a note that's not even in the key signature. Like, that is absolutely blows my mind.
Oh man.
So you know that, whereas, you know, for a drummer, it's going to be different. It is going to be the groove. You know, maybe I'll let you slide. It should be open hi-hat, but you're playing closed hi-hat. Okay, that's fine. But like, if you're playing the wrong kick pattern, we got an issue.
I pinned a comment up here for us, Fuller, because it illustrates our point. The biggest,
that's good.
The biggest problem in communication is the illusion that it has taken place.
Wow.
So,
Shaw, that's good. That's good stuff.
So, thank you, Stephen Curtis. Is your last name
Stephen
Chapman?
I was just about to say that.
So, you talked about you have to address people individually. You know, like if somebody consistently shows up late.
Yeah.
But I was thinking when I said that you have to actually tell people what you expect. I was thinking, like, when is the last time? Because, and I'm gonna put Stephen Curtis's comment back up here. This is the great adventure. No, I'm just kidding. I was thinking, like, when is the last time that you addressed your whole team and you set a standard for the entire team? Like, you know, do you want people to this is hopefully what you work toward, is like, at your rehearsal, whether that's a midweek or a Sunday or whatever you're doing during COVID now, are you expecting people to come to your rehearsals knowing the songs? Because that's what should happen. Because otherwise, if you're learning the songs at rehearsal, you're wasting everybody's time.
Oh my gosh.
So do you expect people to come to rehearsal knowing the songs? And if you do the people that are coming to the rehearsals know that? Because they may not know that that's what's expected. So
they probably don't. If you haven't told them, why would they?
Yeah. So you might need to do episode 2 of The Office, Fuller. This is a Bradford reference, but you can get it. Diversity Day. Do you know The Office?
Yeah, diversity training.
So
that show was a train wreck.
They came, but what they did, what corporate did was they had a guy come in and define what is appropriate when it comes to, you know, sensitive things like this. And it may be for one person, you know, because he goes to Michael, all I needed was your signature, Michael. This was all for you. We just didn't want to embarrass you. Right,
That's
so it may be worth doing something with your whole team, because another ism is vision leaks, right? That means people, and that's what that Stephen Curtis's comment was like. People, you may say things, but like that, it goes in and out, and you know, it's worth having a full team meeting saying, I just want to talk about what we would like to see from everybody when it comes to rehearsal, and then if you need to, you can follow that conversation up with take your piece of paper to certain people and say, we need you to sign this. Corporate wants your signature. That's the whole
That's right.
Did this.
That's right.
Don't do it like that. Thank you, Worship Guitar Guy, for your super chat. I did not see a comment associated with that.
He did ask a question. Well, he did say something earlier. Which pedals would you use on a budget to get the worship tone? And then B. Mitchell, of course, chimed in and said, at this point, there's no reason to go anything but a Podgo or a Helix.
If you're on a budget, yeah,
because
it would be
pedals
hard
are
to beat a Podgo.
Yeah, because that's like every pedal you need.
And define budget, so that's the other thing.
That's true too.
Our goal with these videos is not to focus on gear, but since there was a super chat and it is related to Sunday morning,
and gear is important, right?
Yeah, I mean, you got to have the
So,
sound.
Yeah.
You should anyway. Or
Yeah. You know what? This is a great place, I think, to interject, Brian. So
yes,
this is the dichotomy that we always find ourselves in, and I think every worship leader, at least guitar players, keyboard players, I know, there is this myth that having great gear, having the right gear, having great gear will change everything for you. And it's absolutely so false, right?
Yeah, it's not true.
And so I think that we talk so much about gear, which is important, you know, because there's nothing like hearing somebody that has phenomenal tone. That's a really nice thing. But great tone, to me, I've never heard anyone with great tone that wasn't a really great player.
Yeah.
You know, I've never heard somebody that's. Have you ever heard? I mean, you answer this question. Have you ever heard a guitar player with killer tone that was constantly playing the wrong notes and was out of tune?
No.
Exactly, because
out of tune and wrong notes goes hand in hand with bad
tone. Right. And so what I'm saying is part of getting great tone is knowing how to play your instrument.
How to play it well, yeah.
Because here's what happens.
Yeah.
Brad and you guys put a patch together. It sounds amazing in the video. I buy the patch. Or Joe, guitar player, buys the patch. Hey, it doesn't sound the same on my stuff. What's wrong? Something's wrong with the patch. Well, two things. One, tone is not transferable.
Right.
Part of it is, but you are in a different room with a different guitar, and more importantly, different fingers and different style of playing. So when you're a guitar player, you take that. What you should do is you should take that patch that you buy, and you should tweak it to how you play, you know, and maybe you got to adjust the gain, or maybe you got to adjust the EQ because your guitar is a little brighter than whatever. So I think part of having tone is not necessarily the gear, but knowing how to use the gear you have.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm guilty of this in the production world because I think sometimes, man, if I buy this new sample library, I'm suddenly going to sound like John Williams. Guess what? It's not going to happen. Yeah, exactly.
When it comes to production, it's all, for me, I've spent so much money in the past on plugins that I just don't use.
Oh gosh, yeah. I've got tons of stuff that I wish I would not have bought 10 years ago.
You get this mastering plugin, you're like, this is gonna make every mix I do sound amazing, and it doesn't because
unless it's Ozone 8, which in case it was
that's true.
definitely
that one I use on every single mix.
Yeah. So I think when you're asking that question, what gear should I buy?
Yeah.
Buy the most expensive thing you can, for sure, right? Because you
the
always
highest quality.
You always get what you pay for.
Which usually means most expensive,
Yes. But there is a massive difference between a $8,000 boutique amp, which you need to know how to use to get to sound good, by the way.
I'm looking at one of them. It's not $8,000, but
but if you buy a
$700,
if you buy a $700 pod or a Helix or whatever their price point is now, you are actually going to find a way to good tone way easier because it's designed for people who maybe, because I've heard people plug into Marshall stacks and sound terrible because you have to know how to tweak it and EQ it and mic it and stuff. So, you know, at a certain level, I would say for worship specifically, buy the most expensive self-contained thing you can buy that's going to be the same every time you turn it on. Every time you turn on your Helix and load that patch, it's going to sound the same, and that's extremely valuable. Hey, and if you find yourself going on the road with the AC/DC tribute band, go buy a bunch of Marshall stacks.
Yeah. There's a very specific wireless guitar unit that Angus Young uses. That's a big part of his tone, by the way.
There you go.
Anyway,
there you go.
Thank you for your super chat, Worship Guitar Guy. Yes, Worship Guitar Guy. I got the name right. Cool. I didn't put it up there, but I never saw his original question. Anyway, moving on.
He was cheap pedals. Cheap pedals.
Oh yeah. Well, we didn't
like budget. Yeah. Well, we talked kind of. Tell us your budget and we'll tell you what to buy. Okay.
Give you some options. All right.
That's right. That's my first question in how much money do you have?
Well, people say
What's
on
your
a
budget?
budget, but what does on a budget mean?
Yeah, it's
It means
different for
very
everyone.
different things for different people. Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
Cool. All right, so there's
the-
a bunch of questions already in the chat. You want to pull them in, B?
Yeah, let's do it. What do you got? What do you got? What do you have? How about that? My mother was an English teacher for a period of time. So
your mother were an English teacher?
That's right. What do you got, Fuller?
Okay, so a lot of people commenting on the blue glasses. You should definitely get them, Brian. Lots of testimonies. Lots of testimonies on the effectiveness. Let's see here. Here's one. Do you write original songs with your worship team? If so, what's your suggestion? Andrew, there it is. Perfect. Cool.
Look at that profile photo
profile picture.
Yeah.
Man. Is that the beach? That's cool. I like that. That's good stuff. If so, what's your suggestion?
We both commented on it.
I know. It's like, that's a nice picture.
That looks professional.
Very pro, Andrew. Very pro. What's your suggestion on starting to write songs with your team?
Oh, man. We've done a little bit of this, have we not, Fuller?
Yeah.
What do you think?
We have. So it's interesting. I'm what I would basically call a professional composer. I write music every day.
That is true.
Ironically, I have never written a song with a worship team. I have co-written songs with worship leaders, and I have produced worship albums. But I think I have never had, let's just say I've never had the guts to go to my whole team and say, hey, we're going to write a worship album. Let's all join together. Because I think that's a bad idea.
Probably not the answer you're expecting.
Yeah. And the reason I think that's a bad... Now, take this perspective from a guy who basically, this is what I do every day. So I'm looking at it from a process level. I don't think it would be very effective. I think it would cause a lot of drama, and you would end up with a lot of hurt feelings, because you can't just take people who play guitar and expect them to be songwriters. Being musicians and being songwriters are two different things. Now, having said that, if you have people on your team that are songwriters, and this is what Hillsong does, not everyone at Hillsong writes King of Kings, okay? That's like Brooke and Jason Ingram, who's probably arguably one of the greatest Christian songwriters in the world, and then one other person.
And he's not with Hillsong, by the way. He's
not. He's a third
just
party.
Just a guy in California.
Yeah, and they call him because they want the songs to be great, and that's what happens when Jason Ingram writes a song with you. So step one is get Jason Ingram.
He is, by the way, Jason Ingram is the guy behind One Sonic Society, correct?
Yes, yeah, and Stu and those guys, yeah, they're geniuses basically.
Yeah.
But where you're at, you have to ask yourself, what's the point? Is it just to bring the team together? If it is to bring the team together, then do it. That'll be very effective. But don't expect to get a great song. I'm sorry. That's probably not going to happen. But if you have someone on your team that's already writing songs, you probably know that. Get with them. Get with them, a small group of people, maybe 2 or 3 people, and let your team know, hey, we're going to be doing some original songs. We're putting together a songwriting team. Yeah. If you would like to be considered for that songwriting team, here's what you do. And it sounds scary, but you're going to filter a ton of people out this way. Just simply say this. Send me 3 songs that you've written, which already will eliminate almost everyone.
Yes.
And then you can do some questionnaires and stuff. And then you will get down to the core people. Because if someone already has written 3 songs, then yeah, they should be on your songwriting team.
If they're okay,
and well, even if they're not, I mean, if there's potential there. Yeah. But at the end of the day, when you're in a group of people writing songs, one person has to be the final say. And so you have to establish this hierarchy from the very beginning. I'm starting a songwriting team. I will be the ultimate decision. So everyone knows that going in, because it has to work that way. And then you bring people in, and then it could be a great experience, and you could end up with some great music. But if you just go, hey, and I've seen this happen, hey, we're going to write a worship album, and then they get a bunch of people together that have never written songs. Some people sit there and they feel like they're wasting their time. Other people get their feelings hurt because they write songs that are terrible and nobody wants to use them. So you just got to be real careful with this.
Yeah. So I'm gonna tell what you've done with us at New Hope before, Fuller. So we had a songwriting clinic once. Do you remember this? This was long ago.
Of course, yeah. Scott Copain came. He's awesome.
Yeah.
And Chris Sly, yeah.
Yeah. So what Fuller did with our team, now this was, all of us were staff, so it wasn't like we invited all of our volunteers to come in. Although we thought about opening it up to more people.
Yeah.
But we started with like the staff who were, for lack of a better word, professional musicians, right?
Yeah, I'd say.
And so you start with a group of skilled people, and all of us had expressed interest in writing songs or said that we've written songs. And you broke us up into groups of like 2 or 3. So we had maybe 3 or 4 groups of 2 or 3 people, and each group was charged with writing a song. And it was more of like an exercise in songwriting. And it was like, hey, if something cool comes out of this, like an idea or a chorus or a song, whatever, we could pursue it. But it was less pressure, because it wasn't like our goal here is to come up with a song that we're going to put on iTunes or something.
No, right. That was not the goal.
Sing in our church. But that possibility was there. So that, Andrew, that's who asked the question. Andrew, that might be something you do with your team. Anyone who's interested in writing, come to this workshop.
Good idea.
And maybe invite somebody with some songwriting experience to come. Like, here are some tips to writing, and then break your team up into groups, and maybe identify, first of all, beforehand, maybe identify 2 or 3 people who are going to lead different groups, right?
Yes.
That have some experience. And you can include your volunteers, and then you break up into smaller groups of 2 or 3 people each.
Yes.
And each try and come up with something. And it doesn't have to be a whole song. It just needs to be maybe a chorus or something,
That's it. Yeah.
Just 4 lines of lyric and melody together. And who knows, that might develop you might identify somebody who's really got a skill for lyrics or melody or both.
Yes.
And
you'd
2,
be surprised.
You might end up with something out of that. And it's much lower pressure. So that was, I really thought that was a cool deal that you did, Fuller.
Well, thank you.
Yeah,
and I think the point, I think, is that you need to baby step it, right? Like, because first of all, have you written a song? Like, if you've never written a song, I probably would not suggest telling the team, hey, we're going to get together and write songs. Study yourself, learn, and grow. Or maybe connect with a local person that's a songwriter. And so either way, I think when you are writing, especially for a church, it's really great to bring an outside person in that has a sort of authority. Because, when we had our songwriter workshop, my friend Scott, he wrote the theme to Paw Patrol. So I'm like, this guy comes with some authority, right? So like if he says something, we're going to be like, okay, yeah, cool.
I want to ask the audience, how many of you have kids? Because that either will be like, oh, are you serious? Or, what?
Exactly.
Paw Patrol.
Be here on the double. We're probably going to get flagged
Seth
for
used
that.
to watch Paw Patrol, like, he's older now, so he doesn't. But, man, I could sing you that note for note. There's some serious guitar, like, stuff going on in that song, too.
Yeah, I mean, those guys.
There's some chops.
Yeah, those guys know what they're doing. Yeah, they know what they're doing. But yeah, so that's a good advice, I think. Just baby step it, take your time, and don't expect to get, what a beautiful name. It's gonna take some time to do that. I was actually talking to our
Hillsong has written
last night.
thousands of songs.
Yes,
and
you got to write like 1,000 to get a couple really good.
They get 5 What a Beautiful names.
Yeah,
in the last 5 years, right?
Yeah, exactly. If that, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Let's go.
Thanks for your questions.
Yeah, great
Brian Morgan, good name by the way. Although you spelled it with a Y, which is
we'll let it slide.
Which we realize is not your doing, but we'll say. Fuller and I are both BRIANs. So anyway, Brian, thank you for your super chat. I don't see a question. There it is. Thoughts on using?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm looking in the wrong. Sorry, I'm gonna try.
It's right after it. Yeah, it's right after.
I'm gonna try and pin it on the screen. I was looking at the wrong thing.
Perfect. Pin it.
Brian,
there it is.
Thoughts on allowing chord charts, confidence monitors during rehearsals?
Good question, Brian. Brian just wants to stir it up. Stir it up. He just wants to stir it up.
So at under Fuller's leadership, under Fuller's tutelage, we were expected to, now this was at our previous church where Fuller and I served together. We were both worship leaders, by the way, at campuses. Fuller was the director of all worship that happened at all campuses. We were, and our volunteers as well, were expected to have the songs memorized for rehearsals. So I'm not going to say we did not allow chord charts to be used at rehearsals. Brian, it's interesting to me that you asked this question about rehearsal and not Sunday services. That tells me that would suggest to me, Brian, that you do not allow people to use music during Sundays, because you're specifically asking about rehearsals. So, but it's not like nobody ever showed up without a chord chart at a rehearsal. Yeah, there were few exceptions that were made, but as a rule, we did not have chord charts and music at our rehearsals. But we did have confidence monitors with lyrics for both rehearsals and Sunday morning services. Yeah. Can you speak into a bit more of why those rules were made, Fuller?
Yeah, so, gosh, how many times have we talked about this, Brian, over the years? And
never talked about music stands ever.
Yeah, no. I will openly admit that from time to time I skew one way or the other. Okay. Yeah. I do think it is a very specific thing, and that should be. Let's just say this: it should match your vibe, right? Like what you do, what your policy on that should correlate to your other policies. And let me explain. There's a local church here that I've kind of gotten to know a little bit, and they are completely different than the way I do worship. They're very laid back, they wing it a lot, which drives me crazy, but that's what they do. They have music stands, but that's just kind of their thing, right? Like, it's just, it's how they do worship, right? And like, I personally couldn't be a part of that team because it just goes against who I am in my nature, but it works for them, right? And so, great, do it. But for me, I think I've been around performance my whole life. I love music. I love production. I like to be extremely engaged when I'm at some sort of worship event. And for me personally, when the vocalist, at least let's just say the frontline people, vocalists and anyone on the front line, when they have music stands, and it's not just the music stand, but if they have a stand that they're glued to, I don't even care. It doesn't have to be a music stand. It could be an iPad.
It can be a confidence monitor in the back too.
It could be because some people just look like they're reading the back of a screen, and that's just as bad.
It's so obvious too.
Yeah,
it's so
obvious. If you have a music stand on the stage, but you don't hardly ever look at it, and it's not distracting, it's fine, right? Yeah. But people usually have it because they're not prepared, and so. To me, it goes back to, have we created an environment where people have time to prepare? Have we talked about it? Have we created a standard of what preparation means? Because here's the thing. I remember when we did the song So Will I, and I was like, dude, there's no way anybody is going to know all these lyrics in 2 weeks. So like, hey, you know what? Print them out, put them on the floor, because I'd rather you glance at that to get the cue for the next verse than screw the song up. But that doesn't mean every week we're going to have music stands and all your lyrics. And let's also make this very clear. I think lyrics and music are two different things. Right. Because very few people I know are expert sight readers. Okay. Like, you go to the Grand Ole Opry, you could put a lead sheet on the stage and you would think they've been playing that song since they're 2 years old. Yeah. They own it. They destroy it. But most of the musicians we interact with and most musicians at churches, it's hard to follow chord charts. And so if you don't know the music, I don't care whether you have a music stand or not. It's just not going to be that great.
Uh-oh, Fuller, we lost your video.
Am I still here on the audio?
But your audio is there. I suspect maybe you have a battery in a camera that maybe died. Oh. But hey, we can still hear
good call,
you.
Brian. Yeah, so I'll finish this question and I'll plug my camera
I only say that because it's happened to me before.
Nice. I've totally forgot to plug the camera in.
You're using a Pocket 4K, right?
Yes, I am. I'll
and
plug it right in here.
Those batteries last about 30 minutes.
20 minutes.
And that's all you get.
So I'll finish answering this question, and or here, you know what? I'll just plug it in.
I can kind of hop in on it.
Yeah, you know where I'm going.
We have said in the past that we do not think using music stands is a good thing, and we say here's how you can. We have content on here's how you can get rid of them, why you should get rid of them. This and the music stand thing, if you go in like Facebook groups for worship leaders and things like that, it is a very, very hotly debated. Now you're back, but you're choppy. Oh boy, hotly debated topic. We lost Fuller. Fuller's gonna hop back in whenever he can. So music stands are a very hotly debated topic, and people get angry about it. Trying to add Fuller back in. Look at that. You're back already, Fuller.
All right.
And so we don't have a stance against music stands for the sake of music stands. It's a deeper issue.
Yes.
And there's always this like, well, if music stands are outlawed, what about iPads? Well, you're missing.
Yeah, right.
Because an iPad and a music stand are exactly the same thing. Exactly. What it is a, and now it depends. And you referenced this. It depends on how you interact with it. If you glance down at it 3 times, down and up during a song,
no big deal. Yeah.
You're not slave to your stand then. There's no problem with that at all.
Yeah.
Just don't have it in front of your face so nobody can see you. Right? Yeah. But like if you're looking at the thing for the majority of the song that you're leading or you're a part of, it doesn't matter if it's a music stand, an iPad, some sort of holographic technology that just puts the words in front of you in midair. It doesn't matter. What the issue is not the stand. The issue is the fact that you showed up to lead people in worship and you didn't prepare yourself. And that's an issue that's much deeper.
Yes.
And and there's all kinds of excuses that come on the back end of that. I don't have time. I can't memorize things. Well, if you don't, I don't know. I fear that I'm coming off more harsh because you should always approach people with grace and mercy. And love and stuff. But like if somebody doesn't have time to prepare 3 songs for a Sunday worship service, then maybe that person should take a break. Or maybe whoever's in charge is not giving them enough time to prepare themselves. Yeah. They're not providing the resources in a timely manner to let them be prepared. So one could be on the shoulders of the volunteer. They're not approaching services with the level of reverence that they should. Or 2, it could be really bad leadership. And typically it's probably a combination of the 2. I don't know. I feel I came down kind of hard.
No. I think that there's a tension.
You have to define reality.
There's a tension there for sure. And I think at the end of the day, also, man, pick easier songs because listen, I've guessed
scale down your song list.
Yes,
stop, don't do 300 songs.
So many people are asking, "Hey, I want to do a new song a week," and I'm like, why? Why would you do a new song every week?
Nobody's gonna know it. Congregation, team, nobody.
Or your band, And so a lot of times, if you're struggling, going back to that, how do we get people more prepared? Here's one thing you could do: just pick 10 songs and just do those for the next 5 months.
Yeah.
Like seriously, and then you'd be amazed how good your team starts to sound. So,
Yeah.
you know,
You're right.
and then use that extreme sample as a reminder that, hey, you know, consistency over time, repeating songs are your best friend. I hate going to like guest worship lead somewhere and they're like, here's the set list and it's all songs I've never
You've
heard. I'm
never
like,
heard of any of them.
I am not going to be good. I
That
am
is
not.
that
This is
is
not going to be
yeah.
a good weekend for me. I want to do How He Loves and Great Are You, Lord, and songs that I can do right now. Let me grab my guitar and go on stage and do them right now. You know, it's like those are. Just keep that in mind.
Yeah. So Brian, that was a lot coming at you.
But you have a
lot of
why, so
thoughts.
you know you deserved
Yeah.
it.
We do have confidence monitors, though. We do use confidence monitors
Yeah.
for rehearsals and for Sunday. But Fuller, we talked about this earlier when it really bit us in the backside.
I told him I
And
was turning them off. Yeah.
yeah, did we? I don't remember.
We did for a little while. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was like nobody had it.
Yeah.
So there were a couple questions, and there was a super chat. I'm gonna throw this up, Jeremy. This is related, in my opinion. Jeremy, thank you
Yes,
for your
it is.
question. Is it ever acceptable for a singer to require, that's an interesting word, a key change the morning of a service during the rehearsal? So I'm assuming, Jeremy, you do rehearsals on Sunday, like you show up early, which is a very common thing, and you rehearse and then you do the worship service. Is
Well,
it ever
it would
acceptable?
It would
Sure.
it would be acceptable
Could
if you have created a culture where it's acceptable.
It shouldn't
Okay. Yeah. So like, here's my thing. Like I tell vocalists all the time, like if you want to change this key, you need to let me know like next week, like
Yes.
which is like 2 weeks out.
That's it.
Because there's so many other resources that need to be prepared. And so if you're doing a really intricate song that has really specific guitar parts that can't be transposed quickly, that's one thing. If it's just you and a guitar player with a capo, no big deal. You want to take it down to E flat, I'll move my capo. So it just depends on the situation. But if they're asking to change the key of the song, it could be one of two things. One, they haven't even practiced the song one time. So that's a massive issue.
And they do it Saturday night, and they're like, I
Yeah,
can't sing this.
it's too high. Yeah, exactly.
I'm
Terrible,
guilty
terrible.
of doing that. It's not
Yeah.
like, I'm guilty.
Yeah.
But
Well,
you
and
know
I've
what?
often,
I sucked it
yeah.
up and
I have
and hurt myself
declined
and sang it. Yeah.
in 15 years of ministry. I've probably been asked 5 times to change the key of a song Sunday, and 4 of them I've said no. And so I've basically been like, hey, if you don't feel like you can sing it, I'm gonna cut the song.
Yeah.
Because I would rather cut the song and not do it and no one know, the wiser, than to put the band and everybody through that. Now, if you are part of a team that's full of professional musicians and it doesn't matter,
this
then who
is a different
cares?
scenario. Yeah.
I know churches where the
I'm gonna
worship
guess
leader,
not many people are in that situation.
Yes.
But some
I
might
do-
be.
in a lot of gospel churches, the worship leader, if he goes like this, that means 2 sharps. That means we're going to D major. If he goes like this, that means 2 flats. We're going to B flat. And then the band just, I mean, you're talking about, okay, sure.
You got to
why not?
assume you're starting in C there.
Well, no, no matter what key you're in. If I
Yeah.
want to go to a key, I'm just going to go, hey, let's go to A major. So
Oh, I see what you're saying. I got you.
That's not, that's 1%.
You're flashing key signatures, Fuller. I
You're
thought
flashing
you're
key
going up
signatures,
steps
yeah.
and down. Okay. Yeah.
E flat, right? So,
Yeah.
so 100, I'd say 99% of the time, I would not recommend changing the key to a song on a Sunday morning. Now, if your vocalist shows up and their throat hurts and they can't sing literally, but they could do it a step lower, and if you can do it, do it. There was one situation where I had a vocalist that couldn't do the song. It was a full production, and I said, I have an idea. Because the song was very important. How about we do it acoustic? I'll play the acoustic, and then the band will just leave the stage. And then that way, I could transpose the song easily because I was using a capo. And then the band just walked off stage, and it was great. You know, and it actually turned out being cool. So there are exceptions, yes.
So my thoughts on this, Jeremy, it comes so if you're the worship leader, Jeremy, you should. I think it's good practice if you're going to have somebody lead songs, which I think you should also. We should all have other people leading songs
Yeah.
rather than just one person. I communicate a couple weeks in advance. So it all goes back to this, right? Communicate early, give people stuff, right? Communicate and say, I would like you to lead this song in this key. Can you do it? Would you prefer a different key? I need to know by, Tuesday, whatever.
Yeah.
If you can, if you want to do it in a different key, that is no problem. I will prepare everything for the other key and get it out. But if you don't do that, or if you're the person leading and you in the moment are like, I can't do it in this key, I'm going to ask them to switch it. You're going to make people not like you on your team. Whoever is making this request, the rest of the band is really going to resent them over time.
Yeah.
Because you're really making life very difficult for your entire team. And it's going to cause the music to suffer unless you're all pros, like Fuller said.
Yeah.
So it comes down to, one, respecting the vocalist and saying to them, I would like you to lead What a Beautiful Name in the key of D. Can you do it? And they're like, it's too high. Okay, let's do it in C. Okay.
Yes.
I'll prepare this. I'll prepare the materials, but we have to let the team know early. And hopefully you have this conversation before you ever schedule it. So you don't schedule it in one key, and then even if you change it a week ahead of time, a lot of people will get that, depending on how you do it. A lot of people will get that first schedule, and they see D, and they're like, okay, I'm going to practice this in D. And then you might have changed it early, but they didn't see it. So it's best if you do this all up front. It comes back down to also one person holding the entire team hostage, and you don't ever want that to be a situation.
Yeah, and you're also like on my team, my vocalist wouldn't even ask me that, like, because they know my answer. They would just, now I do have.
That's why that was me, Fuller. There was a couple times that I was scheduled to sing with you, and it was like, oh, I should have asked if I could do this in a different key.
Yeah,
but I didn't even bring it up.
And also keep a spreadsheet of what songs people sing, so that if you're scheduling 5 or 6 vocalists, and you know Sarah sings Beautiful Name in C, then So when you schedule her, put that song in C. And if you're doing a brand new song, always send them the link and say, hey, this song's in E flat. Does this work for you? Do you need it lower or higher? Can you let me know by Wednesday? It's simple.
Yeah.
It's not
Bradford commented too, a singer may not know that it's a challenge for musicians to change keys in the moment. So singers might just think it's no big deal. Also, vocalists might not know what key that they sing a song best in. So you
probably don't. Yeah.
You might have to coach people through it. Like, here's what you do: you just say, put this song on this key, or send them the song. If it's not in the original key, there's tons of ways you can change the key of a song. Send it to them. Say, sing this. How's it feel? All right, there's a super chat from Dave Fugate. Dave says, thank you for your super chat, by the way. We don't have a lot of time left, so we're going to try and get through this stuff. Fuller,
Dang.
We got to go quick.
Yeah, let's keep it.
Been using stems by myself to lead during COVID. I think a lot of people are in your shoes, Dave. I have a drummer and a piano player, but that's it. Advice on coming back to live musicians.
Are you meeting in church? I'm not sure if he's meeting or if they're just streaming.
I'm going to assume that he says coming back to live, so I'm going to assume they've been they have not been meeting in person.
Sure.
And they're and I think a lot of churches are in this situation too. And as states are starting to open back up more now, I think many churches that have been all online are probably starting to come back soon. So what's your advice, Fuller, coming back?
Well, I mean, I think it's no different than if you were just starting a ministry. I mean, the bottom line is we need musicians. You have to raise up musicians. You have to recruit musicians. And I don't know if you had a bunch and then you kind of laid them off for COVID, which has happened a lot, and now you got to get them back. I mean, the bottom line is what I would do is I would start having team meetings, even Zoom meetings, and invite everyone and start casting vision for, hey, on this date, we're going to start going back to live services. How many of you are available? And get a spread. I'm a huge fan of spreadsheets. Get a spreadsheet, drums, bass, guitar 1, guitar 2, acoustic, vocalist, keys, vocalist, Monday, it's team 1, team 2, team 3, and just start filling it out and get commitments from people.
Fuller, you're going all in. You're talking about team rotations already.
That's it. I mean,
Dave's got a drummer and a keys player, and Fuller's like, all right, get him in 4 rotations.
Well, I'll tell you this.
That's smart.
If you have a drummer and a keyboard player,
if
you have a drummer and a keyboard player, you're 90% ahead of everyone else I know.
That's right.
So you're halfway there. All you need is some guitar players, and one of your guitarists can switch to bass if you ask them nicely and give them a Starbucks gift card. You just got to start somewhere, and then just start filling it in. But then when you talk to people, you can tell them, hey, my team B needs a bass player. Yeah. You would be the second Sunday of every month with the Tuesday rehearsal. Could you do it? And then just start going from there. You already have multi-tracks and a drummer, so fake it till you make it.
Yeah, or Dave, I'm making a lot of assumptions about your comment already about what your church has been doing and when they're coming back. But I'm gonna assume maybe Dave, you play an instrument and sing.
He's got to play guitar.
He's leading to when you come back. Look at that. Not a sponsor.
I wish it was.
I actually had some Stoke this morning myself.
I'm pretty sure they put crack cocaine in this stuff.
Yeah, it's called caffeine. It is a drug. It's an addictive drug.
Yeah.
So, Dave, when you come back to, even if you've been doing even if your live streamed worship services have been you hear the whole band because you're using tracks and stems and things. If your church meets and you're by yourself leading from a guitar or piano, whatever you play, live in the moment, that is going to be such a different and refreshing and better experience for the people in the room that choose to come back, that feel safe. Even if it's just you, right? It's gonna be a much more rich experience than what it's been online, even though it's been a bigger sound, right? Does that make sense? So I would not be afraid, and I realize too, there's a lot of factors. I'm guessing a lot of pastors and people in leadership in churches are when we go back, let's go back big. We want bands, we want and I understand that too. There's you can make an argument to do that, but if you come back and it's just you playing, I think that's going to be a really rich experience too for your congregation. So don't be afraid to do it more of an acoustic thing. That's what I'm
love it. I love that. I second that opinion.
Let's see. There was so thank you for your super chat. Really appreciate it. There was another super chat from Derek. Derek, you are a loyal super chatter.
He really is.
Thank you, Derek. They almost always come in saying burger donation. Thank you so much.
I hope one
Appreciate
day.
it.
I hope one day I'm at an event somewhere.
Oh, I made it real big. I don't know how I did that.
There you go. I hope that one day I'm at an event somewhere and I meet Derek Barrelet.
I will buy him a cheeseburger.
I can't wait.
Derek, I'll say, let's go to lunch together and I'm going to buy you 10 cheeseburgers.
Seriously.
Get to pick the one that you think is best. All right.
Count me in.
There was one more super chat that I saw come in, and then it is after SK105. Yes. Thank you for your super chat. Now, I haven't read this comment yet. I just threw it up on the screen.
No,
I used to be the worship leader in middle school and high school. Okay. Quick question, if you see this, I know there's a bit of a lag in the stream versus what we're actually doing in the moment. Were you a student or were you at least a young adult in charge of? That's my first question. And you're transitioning to co-direct in a college ministry. Thanks for all the practical advice as well as, okay. I don't see a question here unless I'm mistaken. Is that, or
there's no question.
You just giving us a tip.
Thankful.
And saying,
grateful.
You. Cool. I'm interested to, SK105, let us know who you are. Were you a student that you've kind of grown as a leader? And that's awesome. Really appreciate that. Thanks for your
thank you.
Thanks for your super chat and for your feedback. Appreciate it. All right, Fuller. It's almost time to go.
Can you field?
Yes, I'm sure I can.
I had one question. I think it was further up there, but it's how do we get our keyboard players to get better?
I saw that question. Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm going to be able to find it. But.
Yeah, it's probably up there. A lot of good questions. We will field these for next week as well. Join us next week, and we'll continue to do this. But I would say this. It's just like
for keys players.
Yeah, it's just like anything. Is give them lots of resources. Like I'm currently. Perfect. How do I get my keys players to learn how to play better? Great. I mean, and you can change that keys player to any instrument, right? How do I get my bass player to play better? How do I get my drummer to play better? There's two phases of this, Gerson. One is get better yourself. Your team needs to see you learning and growing constantly. I would always get joked with about what new instrument I have been learning. You know, it's like because I'm always trying to learn new instruments and stuff, even if I'm terrible at them. But expanding your mind, if you're a guitar player, if you're whatever, a vocalist, your team needs to know that you're taking lessons or you're learning or you're in an online class or you're that is contagious. And if they see you growing, they will grow because you're setting the temperature of the team, speed of the leader, speed of the team. If you are the leader,
Bradford always says too. That's
yeah,
the other one.
Which I'm assuming you are. And then the second thing is just find them great resources. We partner with worshipartistry.com online. They have a subscription model where you can just pretty much learn every part of every song.
Yeah.
There's lots of free resources out there.
They have a lot of stuff too where they've done like a series for keys players, for example.
Yeah. So just make that stuff available. And also there's a ton of stuff on YouTube. I'm personally right now learning how to play jazz on piano.
Fuller, you're telling me you can go to YouTube and learn how to do things?
That is correct. The YouTubes, man. The YouTubes.
That's funny.
So yeah, just get out there and get them some resources and then evaluate them. You need to sit down with them and tell them, which is what I'm about to do with my team. I'm going to sit down with each person and I'm going to say, here's how I'd like to see you grow in your musicianship in the next 6 months. Now,
man, people will love that.
They will. They all want to. But you got to be specific. Yeah. And if they don't, then they're probably not going to be on the team long anyways, because it's going to get too challenging for them.
People want to do things well, right? And they want to be a part of something that is done with excellence.
Yes.
And they want to be a part of something that has meaning, greater meaning in the world around us. Which church is the perfect vehicle for that, because the church is the hope. Jesus is the hope of the world, but the church is the mechanism through which the world, can experience Jesus. Certainly through us individually as well. But being part of a worship team in a church should be something that a person finds so much meaning and value in and thinks that they're making the world a better place through it. And they want to be a part of something great, and they want to do it well themselves. So Fuller, that's awesome. That takes a lot of time and effort and intentionality to do that with all your team members. That's great.
Well, if you only have 20 people, it's really not that much. And you can group them together. You can meet with the guitar players all together and just talk to them as a group, but get individual. Say, guys, here's what I want to do. Brian, how many times have I said, hey, can you come play? Or Brad, can you come play? Because I want my guitar players to see the target. I want them to see the target. I want them to see what the end result should sound like. And same with, drummers. I have a friend that, we all know who my friend is. That's an amazing drummer, but I bring him in and I'm like, I just want our other drummers to see how amazing great drumming is. And just kind of expose people to it. You'll be surprised at how quickly your team elevates.
Attracts excellence, as they say, Fuller. All right, cool. Thank you, Gerson, for your comment. Hopefully we've pronounced your name correctly there. All right, Fuller, you got any final words to add? We're at 59 minutes and 9 seconds. We're about to wrap this thing up.
Just remember that above all, love is the most important thing, man. Love your people, love yourself, and respect the people on your team. And
value them more than what they can do for you.
Yes,
value them as a person more than the fact that they're a guitar player or a drummer.
Put people first and the music will happen.
Fuller. Yep.
and have a great week. We'll see y'all next week.
I gotta tell you guys, I came into this video feeling a little tired. I think it was tired more than anything. You probably see it in my face. But as always, Fuller, it's been a pleasure to hang out with you, my friend. And
pleasure's all mine.
Yes, all on this side of the table.
It's all right
The pleasure
here.
is all on this side of the table.
I celebrate the guy's entire catalog.
Yes. So, do you go by Mike or Michael? And he's like, Mike. Just call me Mike. And they're all like, really? This is a very inside joke. And if you know what we're talking about, hopefully you're laughing with us.
Yes.
But yes, Fuller, it's been such a pleasure to hang out with you. But also, all of you on
thank you guys.
on YouTube, the Worship Tutorials community.
Thank you guys.
We wanted to do these Worship Leader Wednesday videos to have in an effort to build community together, and that is really what's happened. So you've really given me life today, this morning.
Me too.
I've sort of feel like I've come out of my funk of being tired.
Hey, you know what, Brian? Though,
yes.
isn't that what does it? Is being around, even though
which
we're not technically physically around them.
Which is why isolation, and which is, I mean, we could go off on a completely different tangent, but like
mental health,
the effects of living through a pandemic like this, it's just like there's so much more than just what you see on the surface, and from an emotional standpoint. We're not designed to be in isolation. But we should be safe and keep those around us safe. And be smart. I'm not going to go into all that, but it's just all that to say, this is a really difficult time for every single person in the world. I mean, everybody is being affected by this.
We're all in this together,
and we all need community. And it's good to hang out with you, Fuller, and with all of you. I'll look in the camera. All of you on
all
YouTube
of you guys,
thank you,
and girls.
Appreciate it. Thanks for your and we apologize we can't get to every comment. We wish we could.
That's why we're doing it every week.
Well, we will be back next Wednesday, and I believe Bradford will be with us next week.
Brad.
We weren't live last week because my son's school decided to do all this standardized testing, which meant I had to facilitate it at home.
Oh man,
because he's online still half the time. My son is a second grader, by the way, and so I was like, I texted these guys like, "There's no way I'm gonna make an 11 o'clock live video. It's not gonna happen." So, but we'll be back next week. I don't see why we wouldn't. Thank you for hanging with us.
Let's do it.
Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Leave a comment if you're watching this on the replay. Comments below if you'd like. It is always interesting to see people leave comments like after the fact. That as though it's live still. Technology is fun, right, Fuller?
It is.
Anyway.
It is a blast. I love it.
Thanks for watching. Thanks for watching, guys.
See you guys
next
later.
time. Bye-bye.
Bye.